have another gentleman, that is Ajith Fernando, who is author and speaker and has served as National Director of Youth for Christ in Sri Lanka since 1976. And then we come to another gentleman who is Mr. Houghton. I have just been given the name just now. And Mr. Houghton is an authority in climate change. We had to look for him very hard, and finally we got him, but I couldn't identify him very quickly. Then we have the last one, who is Mr. Las Newman. He is president of Caribbean Graduate School of Theology. And also, he is known for speaking on climate change, and he is speaking also in multiplex this afternoon. And thank you very much. Each of them will speak very briefly, give a statement, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Then after that, you ask them questions. We start with the lady. I would like you to speak loud, because there are many noises here. You project your voice. I will try to repeat your question, so make it very brief.
I worked to rescue slaves in India, and it is a reality. Slaves exist today. There are an estimated over 27 million slaves in the world, but in my country alone, experts say that there are 10 to 15 million children who are currently held in illegal slavery, and that does not include the men and women. So you can imagine the numbers. The numbers are varied. It's anywhere from 10 to 27 to some of the reports say 65. But all I know is that the numbers are in millions. So millions of women, men, children trapped in rice mills, rock quarries, brick industries, not free. They're held captive by slave owners, and that's the reality in my country. So I work through International Justice Mission to bring rescue to the slaves, and then we provide prosecution, where we hold the perpetrator accountable, and we take the families and bring restoration and hope and reconciliation into their lives, and allow the families to get back into society and live in their communities as citizens. We help them to lead a normal life. We help them build support systems within their communities so that they can go to the community for help and not come back to IJL. We want them to live as free citizens of the country. That's the work I do.
The area where I was asked to speak about is on reconciliation. And I come from the country of Rwanda. And I started getting interested in the area of reconciliation in the 80s when I came to the Lord, because I grew up in the country of Rwanda, and the troubles of Rwanda came to be known in 1994, but they had started far earlier in the 50s and the 60s. So I was deeply affected by the ethnic massacres that happened in the country, because when I was 5, that's when my father was killed, towards the end of the first wave of massacres against the Tutsis in Rwanda. And when I was 15, we were kicked out of school. And when I was 25, I was teaching at the university. Again, I was kicked out of my position because the government had come up with a new policy on job distribution, saying that Tutsis shouldn't be in influential positions. And it was at a time when I was so angry and so bitter that I came to the Lord. And my conviction was that after coming to the Lord, actually, I didn't immediately go into reconciliation, because very often people are mistaken. They think when you become a Christian, your anger and your bitterness are gone, but they don't go. Actually, it took some time for me to come to the realization that I need to change in that area too. So after that, that's when I noticed that so many people live in our country with hatred and anger and bitterness. And then I started speaking and teaching about reconciliation. Then came the genocide of 1994. And definitely after the genocide, the only way for us to rebuild the country was to engage in reconciliation. So maybe I can stop there, and then you're going to ask questions afterwards. Thank you.
I have been in Youth for Christ for 34 years and been part of a church for about 32 years. And in Youth for Christ, I've worked primarily with the poor, and also in our church, it's been with urban poor. So I just thought I'd share some experiences that I've had to give a springboard for discussion. One of the things we found as soon as the poor started coming to Christ was that we encountered strong anger within them because they suddenly realized that they were equal in Christ, but they had not been treated equal all these years. And we began to recognize that this anger was a result of the gospel, and that it must be dealt with. That began a process of about 30 years of adjusting our organizational structure and our philosophy of working so that the poor can emerge as the leaders in our movement. There were two passages in the Bible that became very important to us. One was the sharing passages in Acts 2 and 4, where a lot of the being of one mind was an economic being of one mind. They were being of one mind regarding their money. And so we decided that we are going to have a community where we are open regarding money. No secret salary books. Salaries are given according to need and not according to education and background, so that those who came from rich backgrounds and joined our staff really came down economically, and those who came from poor backgrounds and joined our staff really went up economically. And then we developed all sorts of structures to make sure that the poor realize that they are paying our salaries, that they are part of this community. The other passage that helped us was Antioch, where the donor-receiver distinction was broken, and the church that gave the ministry, the gospel, received money from the church that received the gospel. And money no longer became an important factor in missionary activity. And so, again, the whole idea of the poor feeling they are part of our community. One of the decisions we took, for example, was that we are going to be always one step behind society in terms of technological advancement. In other words, if the poor feel that this is something that is outside their realm, we will wait till they feel comfortable with it until we adopt it into our ministry. We did this with the vehicles we drive, with the computerization